Today I play some $25 zone poker on Ignition. Spoiler alert, I triple up my starting stack of $25 to a little over 80. I also talk about bankroll management and the classic poker movie Rounders. What? You haven't watched Rounders before? And you call yourself a poker enthusiast?
Kid's got alligator blood. Can't get rid of him.
Time to pause this video and go rent Rounders. Don't worry, I'll wait. It's important. Okay, we're going to play some 25 NL today. I got a request from one of my readers on the blog if I could do another session of 25 NL. So I'm playing some zone. It's not quite the real thing. I understand that. But I was asked to get in a lot of hands, and it expedites that. So, okay, we got a min open from a strange stack size, $18. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet, and if I get any kind of major resistance here, I'm going to give up. But these kind of min opens in zone are often people with weak hands just looking to steal the blinds. And so he calls, very dry board. I can represent a lot of strength here. It's hard for him to continue without a king on this board. And if he does continue, then it's an easy read on our part to give up. So that's pretty easy money, and that's the kind of play you should be making a lot of at these in these kind of zone games. So 6-5 off, we're going to let go. I've been experimenting lately with opening a much wider range on the button and 3-betting much wider on the button. I'm not going to do very much of that here because I fear that it will instill some, I don't want to say bad habits, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad habit if you're a good enough player to keep yourself out of trouble in those situations. But a lot of the people that watch these videos and read my blog over at Exceptional Poker are beginners and intermediates that are break even, maybe slightly winning players. And I don't want to teach really bad habits. So I'm going to have to check myself, I'm sure, here, because I have been playing, as I said, quite a bit looser from the button. I play at larger stakes, generally 50 and 100 NL and up. But I have been playing a fair bit looser in late position, especially the button, and I've been playing a lot more aggressively from the button. And like a lot of things in poker, if you repeat and do these things over and over again, you sort of train yourself to play that way. And I'm not playing on autopilot, but it is potentially dangerous. You got to keep reminding yourself. Okay, we got to open under the gun from a decent sized stack. I'm gonna let the ace-10 go. If I were on the button there, perhaps I might 3-bet, but probably not. His range is just too strong there. Now we've got ace-10 in the exact same seat. This time it's folded to us, so this time it's an easy open. We have to watch it if we get 3-bet, and we'll just play from there. So poker is very situational. We got 3-bet here, and he's telling us he's got a strong hand. I have to raise or fold here. I cannot just call, and I'm not interested in getting too much money invested with a hand like ace-10, so I'm going to let it go. So anyway, you can develop habits and kind of go on autopilot here. You know, king-10 suited is kind of an autopilot open for me, but I do have to take the time to look and say, okay, this guy is pretty deep stacked. He's probably therefore a pretty good player. I have to be cautious because he could easily 3-bet us there. Now, it looks like he had checked the pre-fold box button in the software, but you have to pay attention, and you can't play on autopilot. Whether that autopilot is a nitty style, or it's a taggy style, or a lag style, or whatever, you can't get into that mode. You actually have to think each hand through. That said, I am trying to open up my game a lot more in late position because I've seen some benefit of doing that. And you might consider doing the same, but here I'm going to play a relatively conservative style. Okay, we got open in early position here. King 10 suited looks really pretty. Nope, we're going to fold it. And that's generally what I am hoping that you are doing too when you're playing at these stakes. We're not Daniel Negreanu. I'm going to open the King Jack off here in early position. We're not Daniel Negreanu, and playing those kind of trappy hands against an early position opener is scary. Now, no idea what this guy's doing. To me, this feels like he's got tens or jacks and does not want to see anybody play against him. It's clearly a fold on our part. So, anyway, hope you guys are doing well. I am. I just got back from a week on the road for work. It's good to be home. I'm home for the next couple of weeks, which is good. I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to get caught up here at home. Got a blog post out today on sort of an introduction example hand to bankroll management. Okay, we got a limp open here from a really short stack. The problem is if I 3-bet here and the guy jams on me, what am I going to do? So I'm just going to check and play this pot. We almost certainly have the best hand. I don't want to blow him off the pot here yet. He's short enough that we can get all stacks in on the river here. Now 4 got there, but his check to me says he doesn't have it. So I want to squeeze a little bit more value from him. So I'm going to bet pretty small and see if I can get him to come along with, a pair of 8s or what have you, or ace 5, or whatever kind of hand he's got. Okay, queen 10. He had us beat. Interesting hand. In any case, got lots to do. I want to get back into blogging a little bit. I've been pretty remiss. I've let my newsletter subscribers down the last month, basically. I haven't sent out even a I'm still alive email, and it's just been buried at work. That's just the excuse. But the reality is you got to make time for things in life that you think are important. And for whatever reason, I have not made time for blogging recently, and I do want to get back into it. Okay, I'm going to open the A7 off here. I block a lot of his aces here. Now, you got to be a little bit circumspect. Now, this is a pretty wet board. It may not look like it, but there are lots of jacks and 10s in his calling range here. So I'm going to do a one and done kind of C-bet. And if he comes along or 3-bets us, we're pretty much finished with his hand. But those 2 cards, jacks and 10s, hit a lot of range of people who cold call blind versus blind, or just heads up kind of pots. So be wary of that. So anyway, did a blog post today on basically took the first hand from Rounders, the movie with Matt Damon. It's been out 20 years now or something. It's been out a long time. And excuse me. Going to open the 4-3 suited here. This is a little bit of a loose open. We got called by the button here with a very short stack and somebody else. We hit the 3. It's hard for me to put somebody on a queen here. So in a sense, I'm turning my hand into a bluff. I've got some equity with the 3s, but I'm just c-betting there because of the dry nature of that board. And the ranges of these cold callers did not hit that flop very well. Going to let the 8-3 suited go. But anyway, I took the first hand of Rounders where Mike McDermott, the character played by Matt Damon, loses his 3 stacks of high society as $30,000 to Teddy KGB. Okay, a little wet, getting a little bit wet of a board. This is a one and done kind of thing too. I got backdoor flush stuff going on. Now I picked up some more equity. Gonna fire again and see what happens here. It's hard for this guy to continue without a king, and so we took it down. In that first hand, anyway, he has a monster hand against Teddy KGB's range. If you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you go watch it because it is a fun movie. There's a couple of unrealistic things in there, obviously, because it's Hollywood, but it's a fun movie. I love watching that every couple of years. Anyway, he gets in a a hand where he raises on the button with ace-9 offsuit. Maybe it was suited, actually. I forget now. I just wrote the blog post and I've already forgotten. And gets called by Teddy KGB, played by John Malkovich, who's in the big blind. And Matt Damon flops. Now, this is one of those interesting hands where it looks like, boy, I need to call here. But it's really tough to play this hand out of position multi-way. And if we hit, the implied odds aren't that great. I much prefer to play suited aces in late position instead of out of position. And so I'm just letting it go. Now, clearly you can play that there, and calling there is not a terrible mistake. And in fact, you could argue it might be a better mistake or a better play than folding. But as you guys know me, I'm a believer in the adage of caution is the better part of valor. Caution is the better part of bankroll management and protecting your stack. So I like to grind up chip by chip instead of gambling hugely like that out of position. Anyway, Mike McDermott, the character, Matt Damon's character, flops 2-pair, bets, gets called, goes check call by Malkovich. And the turn brings in another 9, giving. I'm going to go ahead and bet this. I'm going to overbet it a little bit. The turn brings a 9, giving Matt Damon's character a boat. 9's full of aces. Goes check check. It's a little weird, the narration. He's talking there about puts Malkovich on the flush draw. So a pretty strong hand here. We've got a lot of equity, so we're going to go ahead and just got a call. Got a call for sure. Check to the razor here. See if he's going to check back. $3. I'm going to go ahead and make the call here because I still have some equity. I probably have the best hand here unless he's got King Jack, which he very well could be, and flop it ace-9. Just a crazy bluff by him. So that's a pretty easy call there when they jam shove on that kind of board and you've got trips. So anyway, in that hand, Matt Damon puts John Malkovich on a flush draw, which, yeah, maybe. But the board is paired and there's other stuff going on in the hand that I'm not sure if I completely agree with that. I think flush draws are in Malkovich's range in the hand, but there's lots of other hands that are certainly in his range there. And in any case, Malkovich makes a big bet on the end, and Matt Damon's character ends up getting it all in and losing his entire stack to aces full.
Yeah, I'm going to go all in because I don't think you got the spades.
You're right. I don't have spades.
I know before the cards are even turned over.
Aces.
John Malkovich's character, Teddy KGB, ends up slow playing aces basically pre-flop and then overbetting and on the river, really kind of a weirdo hand. The bottom line, though, is that it is an exercise, not necessarily in hand reading or ranges and that kind of stuff, which it is clearly, but more to the point, it's a hard lesson in bankroll management because now, I mean, what is this guy thinking here? And if he's got aces, who's he going to get called by? Any other hand, he's only going to get called by somebody who's got a better hand than him, namely aces. So I don't understand those open jams at all. Maybe he's going to, at the $5 stakes, a guy open jamming like that might get called by somebody with queens or jacks, assuming he's got aces, the guy open jammed. But at these stakes at 25 and above, the players are too good to make that call in general. So anyway, getting back to rounders, it's a lesson in bankroll management. against Teddy KGB's range in the hand, and I don't, again, you need to go back and watch the movie or, YouTube that opening hand scene from Rounders to watch it in real time. It's, against the range that Teddy KGB has, Matt Damon's hand is super, super strong. He's in fantastic shape. But there is a possibility that he's beat. There is a hand that beats him, namely aces. And he has his entire bankroll, his life roll, not really his life roll, but his entire poker bankroll on the line. And all it takes is that one loss, and he's broke. And in the case of, a little spoiler alert here, he ends up going broke because Teddy KGB turns over those aces, and Matt Damon ends up having to take a 9-to-5 job, or I think it's more like a 4:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon job, driving some kind of delivery truck. And it's because he went broke. And the lesson is bankroll management is huge. And I have to be honest, it's one of my leaks that I've struggled with a lot over the years. Very dry board here, a pair of threes and a 5. It's really hard for this guy to have connected with that flop. He could have a pair like, 7s, 8s, 9s, something like that he just called with. Much more likely he's got overcards to the board. A hand maybe as strong as ours, but easily something like Queen Jack, Jack 10, something like that too. And it's going to be hard for him to continue here. He can possibly, because it's hard if he's a thinking player, which he wasn't because he was such a short stack. It's hard to peg him as a thinking player. But if he's a thinking player, he knows that board doesn't hit us either. So he's probably, if he's a good player and thinking player, he can continue one street, but it's going to be really hard for him to take take our turn bet when we fire a second barrel into him, assuming we miss on the turn, unless he hits, of course. So you got to pay attention to board texture. Anyway, getting back to the Rounders hand, the lesson is bankroll management. And as I said, I have struggled with this a lot. I'm much better now, but I have often, okay, we're going to 3-bet here with our queens. We'd like to get heads up, get it all in against this. The 2 seed here has got $6 behind. Okay, I think at this point, we're just going to call and play a pot out of position, and we love this flop. Come on, fire on us with your ace king. We want you to. We're going to get it in one way or the other. I think I just go ahead and jam here. Just get it in. The flush draws there, and then some straight draws. So unless he spikes an ace here, we're in great shape. As I said, I've struggled with bankroll management a lot in the past. I have, and what I mean by that is I have tended to play at stakes higher than my bankroll technically allows. And it has cost me a lot of anguish because I have taken some terrible beats at big stakes where, I'm buying in for, a fifth of my entire poker bankroll. I'm going to go ahead and fire again here. Rep the ace. If he continues, I'm done. There's lots of draws on that board that I want to price out. So bankroll management has stung me in the past, and it really hurts. And it's something that I have, as I said, struggled with, and I don't want you to fall into the same trap. I like playing at a minimum of 25 to 40 buy-ins. Now, this is an interesting hand. If I were on the button here, I probably am calling this because I'm guaranteed position with a suited connector against a pretty deep stack. And in fact, I probably should have called there. But I'm talking and I'm a little bit distracted here and not paying attention. So sorry about that, guys. In any case, you've got to protect your bankroll. If you go broke, if you take a huge dent out of your bankroll, okay, now this is an interesting hand. We are really deep stacked relative to the amount of money that it's going to cost me to call here. I'm going to let it go because I'm out of position. If I had position on this guy, I'm calling this and trying to play a post-flop game with him. But out of position is just going to be too hard, and there's just too much money at stake there. So we'll let it go. Anyway, I like to keep 25 to 40 buy-ins for the stakes I'm playing at online. And, there's a lot of rules, bankroll rules, a lot of different thoughts on the subject. I like kind of like Tommy Angelo's approach. If you read his book, Elements of Poker, I forget how he says it, but it's something along the lines of, imagine you've got, call it 50 buy-ins for the stakes you play in. Now imagine you've got 60 buy-ins. Do you feel better? Well, yeah. So his point is, well, then you should have more. And so what's the upper limit? He doesn't actually say, but his point is that you should have a lot of buy-ins for the stakes you play because bad runs happen, coolers happen, bad beats happen, bad play obviously happens. You're going to go on losing streaks, lots of stuff like that. We block a lot of his opening range there. The ace king kind of hands that we're scared of, and that's why I 3-bet there. Again, the power of the button. So getting back to the bankroll thing, I prefer you to have more than the average standard buy-in recommendation. A lot of online guys say 20 to 25 big blinds. That's probably on the light side, 30, 40, 50 big blinds, or buy-ins, I should say, is probably a lot safer, especially if you're not a crushing player. If you're not making 4 or 5 big bets per 100 hands played, which is not super stellar, but pretty good. I'm averaging 8 to 10 depending upon the stakes. I'm going to fire again here. It's hard for me to put him on a king, although he says he has it. And now I'm giving up here. This is just kind of a ridiculous hand that I probably should have given up on the turn. In any case, it depends upon your skill level. The closer you are to, if you're a losing player, no amount of bankroll is going to keep you solvent forever. You're going to go broke. And so instead of a bankroll, you need really a budget or an allowance as you learn the game. And a lot of beginners, that's what they have to do. If you're a break-even player, oh my God, what the heck is this guy doing? Let it go. If you're a break-even player or only winning a couple of big blinds per 100 over thousands and thousands of hands, you probably should be deeper stacked. You should probably have, 50 buy-ins for the stakes you're playing in because you're clearly not crushing the game. So the variance side of things are going to have a bigger effect on you. You're also going to get your money in bad more. That ace-jack suited hand that we just folded, you're probably calling that. A lot of beginner students that I have are really tempted to call there and then lose to, ace-queen or ace-king. So if you're not crushing the game at, say, if you're not really winning strongly at 5 big bets per big blinds per 100, you need more in your hand. If you play a laggier style, for example, you need more, a bigger bankroll. If you play, lots more hands and play a more aggressive style where you're mixing it up against players, there's more variance. And so you need to have more buy-ins in your range, in your bankroll. And similarly, if you play depending upon the types of games you're playing, you need more. If you play limit poker, where you're not going to lose your entire stack in a single hand, and you can walk away if you take a bad beat or a cooler without losing your entire stack and then losing your mind. Maybe you don't need as many, but if you're playing no limit, okay, we flop top pair, pretty good kicker on a very wet board. Diamonds are out. Anybody with a 9 is calling here for sure. Probably should have bet a little bit bigger because I'm multi-way. And I want to kind of price these guys out. I do have a backdoor weak flush draw. We got a backdoor flush of clubs now we got to worry about a little bit. I'm just going to check it back. Maybe I could have bet that. I probably should have bet to protect against the flush that just got there. So yeah, that's bad poker right there, guys. I should have fired another bet. For value, a 6 is there now. Jack 9 is there. Any diamond is there. I'll let it go. That was another badly played hand. So don't learn from me today on those kind of hands. $6.60. I think this is that same guy who jammed on us. I'm going to bet, and then we, hopefully he does the same and we get it all in here. If it's the same player. So depending upon the type of poker you play, if you play Omaha, for example, you better have a lot more than 40 buy-ins because the variance in Omaha is just insane. Going to raise the kings for value here, obviously. And so bankroll management, I'm going to be writing a few more posts on this coming up. The reason it's sort of topical in my life right now is I have dusted off an old book project that I started many, many years ago with the guru, Poker Moses, my old poker coach, on what's called the 10 Commandments of Poker. And it's changed a little bit in the intervening years since when we first laid out the 10 Commandments of poker. Primarily because the games have morphed, have gotten tougher, and I think the emphasis on some of the old commandments have been surpassed or supplemented, or surpassed is the right word, with some more important stuff, like the importance of being cautious and folding. And plus, frankly, I know a lot more about poker than I did 10 years ago. And I've coached a lot of students in the intervening years, helped a lot of people that have contacted me through the blog with poker questions. I've written a lot about poker, and I think I understand it a lot more deeply. And so that's tweaked the 10 Commandments as well. But anyway, I've dusted off that project, and I'm kind of moved it to the front burner. And commandment number 1 of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt manage thy bankroll, or thou shalt protect the bankroll. And so I've been thinking a lot about it, been doing a lot of reading on bankroll management, going back through a lot of notes and things I've written previously on it, talking to some people, and I think I have some interesting things to say about it, but more importantly, it is the number 1 commandment. You can't play without a bankroll. You have to have it there. It's one of the 4 key edges in poker, or advantages. The 3 you'll hear a lot spoken about are card strength, position, and then skill edge. There's others that are subcategories of those, like emotional control, which is, I consider it sort of a subset of skill. Your ability to maintain your skill and playing your A game is really important. So those are the 3 kind of key edges you'll hear people talk about a lot. I'm going to go ahead and bet here. Board's pretty dry. That 9 is getting up into connection range with these guys. The fact that this guy just called, I'm probably just going to check behind here and hope we get lucky and spike a jack. Just going to, we're giving up on this hand, basically. He's not continuing multi-way without a piece of this board. And most likely he's got, king jack, 8-6. Okay, he had some weird gut shot he was chasing, and say la vie. Anyway, commandment number 1 in the 10 Commandments, which I am, as I said, I've dusted off and I'm working on, is thou shalt manage thy bankroll. And so It's, as I said, it's something that's burned me in the past, and I hope it's not burning you. I hope it's something that you've got under control. And if not, hopefully the stuff I'm going to be writing over the next few weeks on it, and eventually going to put into this 10 Commandments book, can and will help you. It's really important. So, okay, I think the next time the big blind comes around, I'm going to click the sit out the next big blind button, and then we'll call this a wrap. So, not my best poker ever. Yeah, we made a few bucks, but that's primarily because we hit pretty well. Played some ugly hands in there, to be honest with you, and it's well, maybe it's worth you pondering those hands, and would love a comment from you down below if you're watching this on YouTube, and or a comment on the blog if that's where you're watching it. And I'd like your thoughts on the hands and the session. If you'd like me to play any particular stakes or games in the future, drop me a line, drop me an email at mark@exceptionalpoker.com. Love to hear from you. If you got anything in particular you'd like me to cover, just let me know, and I'll try to do a blog post. At a minimum, I'll reply to your email and hopefully help you out that way. But just as often, I like to turn good questions into blog posts or videos and address things there. Okay, this is one of those funky hands where you're saying, well, look, these guys are relatively deep. Maybe not this guy so much, but I got a pair of twos. If I hit a set, I'm in great shape. I'm going to sit out the next big blind. But the problem is, in fact, I'm going to sit out this hand because I'd like to see this. The problem here is that we've got an under the gun opener who could, if we call, could easily 4-bet, and we could get squeezed here or sandwiched here in a raising war, and in which case, what the heck do we do? We're not getting good implieds there. We're out of position. I'm going to click that sit out the next big blind hand, and next big blind we will sit out. So we're not getting good implied odds there, despite the fact that we've got a pair. Multi-way out of position against two pretty aggressive guys. It's the guy who 3-bet pre-flop there wasn't quite deep enough with us, creating deep enough effective stacks to make that the right call. So fold is the better part of valor. The zen of holding, as a $25 Tommy Angelo session like this is easily within my bankroll. I typically play at 100 NL or so. So this is pretty easy for me. I hope that when you're playing within your bankroll limitations as well. Don't play higher than your bankroll can support. If you're close to a break-even player, maybe slightly winning, then stick to the 25 to 30 buy-in rule. Make sure your bankroll is at least that big for the stakes you're playing at. Protecting your bankroll is serious business. In fact, it's commandment number 1 of the 10 commandments of winning poker. Thou shalt protect thy bankroll. You simply can't risk losing your bankroll or a significant portion of it, or you're done playing poker at the worst, or at the best, maybe you're dropping down to stakes that you don't want to play at. Protect that bankroll. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this session. Please subscribe, like, or drop me a comment in the box below. If you see something that you disagree with, that you like, that you learned, I'd love to hear about it. I know I made some mistakes in this session. It'd be good to hear from you about what those mistakes were. I'm going to go back and review my session, and I hope you're doing the same with your own sessions. You cannot fix a problem in life or in poker unless and until you recognize what that problem is. And this starts with session reviews. Take the time to go back to work on your sessions, to work through them and see where you might have made mistakes, both on the winning side and the losing side. It's both important. Even the very best poker players do this and have leaks in their game, and they have to go back and review. You and I are no different. We've got to do the same. We've got to go review our sessions, find the problems, find the leaks, and then plug them. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you run good and the chips fall your way. Cheers, good skill, and choose.